All right, so our next guest is the owner of Towpath Distillery, located inside the Merchant Tavern in Merriman Valley, Akron, Ohio. Let's welcome Anthony Piscazzi. Anthony, how are you?
I'm great, guys. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. We know time is money, so we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to chat with us a little bit here. So I guess first things first, tell us a little bit about Towpath Distillery.
Okay. So we are a very small distillery, still pretty new to the game. We're only about a couple years old. But we, really focus on handcrafted small batch spirits, trying to really put out a very high quality product, with our own unique signature on it. So, just in the 2 short years, we've done, 4 core products and some one-offs. So we've had a lot of fun with it and a lot of success.
Nice. And is there any, I know, it seems like all distilleries all across the United States and really the world have like kind of their family history tied into the story of the distillery. Is there some sort of family history that you guys have that, helped create what is Towpath Distillery?
Yeah. So, we have a lot of family history, and dating back to the early 1900s. My great-grandfather on my father's side was an Italian immigrant from southern Italy, and he was so poor he had to stow away on the boat to get here. So he was, just looking for opportunity, looking for a way to start his life and make something for the next generations. And when he got through Ellis Island, he took whatever job he could. And the dad job ended up in Akron. It was on the railroad, and the job was over, and that's kind of how he got there. He did whatever he had to. He was scraping pennies together so much that he wouldn't even walk in his nice shoes because he didn't want to scuff them up for interviews. So that's how poor this guy was. So when Prohibition hit a few years after he got to the United States and got to Akron, a buddy of his back from Italy was in town and lived here, and they started bootlegging. And I heard these stories my entire life. Here's a guy who's got to provide, and what better opportunity than the government just gave you than to provide to fill a need, right? There's the demand is there. There was no supply, so let's supply it. I heard these stories growing up my entire life. Most of them I think are true, but it's been almost 100 years.
Do you have a favorite one that you could give us real quick?
There's some good ones. Actually, if you go to our Instagram, my grandfather's on there, and he does kind of little short clips telling some of these stories. But one of the ones that I always thought,
what's the Instagram handle? Throw that out there.
Towpath Distillery.
Nice.
And he, or at Towpath Distillery, he tells a lot of good ones. But one of them, so this kind of gives it. So when you're bootlegging, your competitors are probably organized criminals, and that was not what my grandfather was. His partner was actually a bail bondsman, and so they were rivals to the organized crime families. And the only reason that those crime families didn't take out my great-grandfather and his buddy is because Whiskey Dick, the bail bondsman, had all the ties to keep those guys out of jail too. So they kind of needed them. So the one story my grandfather likes to tell is they had a still out in Orrville, and back then, you were using sugar to ferment and distill, and sugar was 1 cent cheaper per pound on the open market, and back then that was a lot of money. Than if you bought it from the crime syndicates. Well, trying to save some money, make some more profit, Whiskey Dick bought the sugar from the open market for a penny less per pound. My grandfather goes out to Orrville to light up the still, and the entire barn explodes. They had filled the still with gasoline and obliterated the entire building. Luckily, he survived. He was unconscious for a few hours. Made his way to a phone, calls Whiskey Dick, and tells him what happened. And all Whiskey Dick could say is, "Damn, I guess I bought the sugar from the wrong guys." And that was it. So
there's not much you could do, right? When you guys are all just bootlegging bootlegging alcohol out in the backwoods somewhere, I mean, what can you do?
There's no cell phones. There's none of that. So you just lay in the grass till you wake up and happy you're alive, and then you buy your sugar from the crime guys, from the crime syndicates from now on.
Yeah, so. It kind of makes you appreciate how easy we have it these days. We're not there having a bootleg to make a living and worrying about our entire barn blowing up with us in it. So
yeah.
So what about the name Towpath itself? Because I know obviously that through Merriman Valley, like the Towpath runs, was that a big part of the distribution network?
So Towpath, the name itself comes, and I think it touches on a lot of things. Our pride in where we're from, the Towpath was integral to industry in Northeast Ohio, especially the Akron area. And without it, the rubber factories probably wouldn't have been able to get their workers to and from and move their goods. It's not just our community, but a lot of Industrial Revolution communities throughout the Great Lakes area. So we felt like it was local, but not hyper local. But yes, that Towpath was part of their distribution network back in the day. They did use the canals. I mean, you used whatever you could, anywhere you could hide the booze. And it also runs directly across the street from our distillery. So you can see it out of the front window. And it actually leads down into what would be known as, I guess, Elizabeth Park in Akron. But that's where my great-grandfather, after Prohibition, he opened up a bar there, and it was right on the Towpath. So you could walk from our distillery, or I guess hike or bike from our distillery to his bar, which I thought was a pretty cool tie-in too.
Nice.
Very much so.
Yeah, and so I heard you mention earlier in the interview the core four of your products. Can you tell us about the core four?
Yeah, so we started them. We started with vodka. Vodka is obviously the most, well, actually vodka and bourbon. Vodka and bourbon are the two most popular spirits in this country. Tequila's right behind it. But we started with vodka. Being in the Midwest, okay, let me back up. Vodka can be made from anything as long as it's distilled at 190 proof or 95% alcohol or higher. So anything you can ferment, grapes, potatoes, grain, corn. And being in the Midwest, corn is abundant. I mean, if you get like half a mile outside the city and that's all you see. So, we use corn and we use some Ohio fruit as the beginnings of part of our plan to work with Ohio farmers down the road. We want to build those relationships to get into our whiskey program. Again, using corn as a base, but some other grains. Something really cool in the industry is the use of native grains or ancient grains. So you've got distillers out there actually researching and finding old grains that were grown, say, in Kentucky, 200-300 years ago when bootlegging was happening in the backwoods, or moonshine was being made in the backwoods, and they're literally using whatever's around them. So it's kind of some really cool stuff. There's some other distilleries in Ohio that have experimented with Ohio grains, and with something we want to do down the road. So, but starting with the vodka, it's corn, a little bit of Ohio fruit. It's distilled a minimum of 6 times. Our goal here is to make the cleanest, smoothest vodka that you will ever see, and we've done a pretty good job with it, if I have to say so. I
will say I don't like vodka typically, but I have had your vodka, and it is one of the only vodkas that I can drink straight, and I don't make a funny face when I do it.
That's good.
So
that's what we like. It makes a great martini. So we're very proud of that one. It's approachable. It's, for somebody who isn't really into craft spirits and doesn't really, understand or care about the nuances of the different styles of other spirits. This is a great one to give them if you want to offer something local as a gift or bring it to a party. The vodka is a winner. We also do going on to the bourbon. So our bourbons, this particular one that we have is got a good amount of rye, but it's mostly corn. It's the first in a series of different styles and different mash bills that we're going to be working with and experimenting with. But it's pretty solid. It's a little bit higher proof at 94 without getting into, cask strength or anything like that. It stays and drinks very smooth. It's one of my favorites. maybe a little biased with mine, but we're proud of it.
Yeah.
And then we do a lot of experimenting with rum. We bring in the highest grade molasses we can. We produce a pot still silver rum, which is not something you see too often in the craft spirits world. It takes a good amount of skill to get that right. Usually your silver rums are distilled at such a high proof that they're borderline vodka, and they leave a little bit of residual character. We do not allow our rum to come out of the still at more than like 85%. So we keep a lot of character there. We love it. It's not your rum and Coke type of rum. This is made for your good Caribbean cocktails and Mai Tais and mojitos and whatever. So we like that. And then our distiller, David, he's a winemaker. He was in Napa for a long time. So we kind of took a winemaker's approach to the gin, where we micro distilled each different botanical and then started blending like you would a wine until we built a flavor profile that we really enjoyed. And this one's got a kind of an American style to it, meaning it's juniper medium, good citrus backbone, and then we've got layers of spice that just kind of go through. So that's our core four, and all are unique. The one I think characteristic throughout them all that is kind of our signature is they're all clean. They're all very smooth, and they're all balanced. When you drink them, you can tell they're well crafted. Maybe it's not your personal choice when it comes to style, whether you don't like a lot of rye in your bourbon, or you like a more herbaceous gin. You will appreciate the craftsmanship there. So yeah, that's our core four.
And I will say with the gin, that's another one. Again, not a big gin fan. I usually taste like pine needles and don't like that. That's that juniper forward that I'm sure you're talking about. But this one is very well balanced and very, very approachable, like you mentioned. So
yeah, thanks. We worked hard on that one.
Can you talk a little bit about just the challenges of being a small business owner and a small craft distillery in terms of like distribution? It's not quite as simple as like if I was an artisan making backpacks, I can just sell them on Amazon. Like, can you talk about just like how your product gets where it gets?
Yeah. So one of the big challenges goes back to Prohibition. When Prohibition was repealed, it was left up to the states to make their individual regulations, laws, rules, whatever you want to call it. And quite a few of them, I can't remember how many originally, but still I think 17 of them are what are called liquor control states, meaning they control everything. We're allowed to manufacture. We get a license to manufacture. We can manufacture in Ohio. A license to sell it in Ohio is separate. So we go through the state of Ohio for our distribution in this state, meaning it's our responsibility to get it out into the marketplace to bars and restaurants. They then purchase it from the state of Ohio through their agencies. So when you walk into your local Giant Eagle and they have a high proof spirit section where you're buying your vodkas and your gins, you're actually buying it from the state of Ohio, which we've already sold it to. So there's pros and cons to that. And again, every state's a little different. But if you are in Ohio and you are outside, you don't want to come to the distillery, you can go to our website. You can go to the state of Ohio's ohlq.com. You can find an agency that's close to you or closest to you that carries those spirits. Unfortunately, and this is something we're working on and a lot of other distilleries in Ohio are working on, we cannot ship in Ohio. But I do think that'll change here in the next year or two. But if you are outside of Ohio, you can go directly to our website as well. As long as you're in one of 44 states, you can buy directly from us and we can get it to you. So if you haven't done that, please do, because we got some great stuff.
Yeah, I know that was a big deal. Was that earlier this year that you guys signed on with? What's the company that does that for you?
So the going back to I mentioned about Amazon. These guys actually came from Amazon. They started a company called Tipsy, Tipxy, and they do have a site where they retail through that site or e-tail through that site. But what they really like to do is integrate and do order fulfillment for the small distilleries like us. We actually got in contact with them, or they reached out to us because we had won every single one of our spirits won gold, silver, bronze, or best in category earlier this year at a big international spirits competition. So it was a great opportunity, and we had to jump on it because it allows us. I mean, Northeast Ohio is like the most moved from area in the country. So there's a lot of people that don't live here that probably want a little taste of something from back home. So yeah.
Yeah. A lot of transplants coming out of Akron, Ohio. No, but speaking, I know you talked about your core four and how you can get those. Do you guys also do any sort of seasonal releases or specialty type spirits?
Yeah, so we are just at the beginning of that, and last year we had a lot of success with a couple products. The biggest one, I think, that was most widely received was a spice drum that was spiced with the spices of the holiday season, meaning it smells it smells and tastes like Christmas cookies. It's the base of a cocktail, like an eggnog, that gives it all that flavor without having to buy an artificially flavored one off the shelf. But it's it is a spiced rum, so you can do all the things you want to do with a regular spiced rum, but it's great for the holiday season. So we had to bring that back. That was so well received. So that will be at the distillery, and I think 3 or 4 stores. Again, check our website or check ohlq.com for that. That will be the first holiday release. We also have bringing back again batch number 2. We took a single barrel bourbon, finished it in a red wine barrel, kind of blending some family traditions. My grandfather has been making wine for, probably before I was born, and I've been working with him, learning and just enjoying spending time with my grandfather, and also drinking a lot of wine for like the last 15 years. So it's been fun. So I thought, this would be really cool. You see bourbon out in the marketplace finished in all kinds of things: sherry cask, Madeira cask. Some are really great, and we thought we'd kind of give it a shot. So we took last year we took a wine barrel. Finished a bourbon in that. There was about 282 bottles, I think, went to market. We are doing that again. We tried something a little bit different. We, again, used a wine barrel, a French oak wine barrel, but we were using a 30-gallon cask, and the experiment there was to see kind of how the change in ratio from volume to oak contact would impact that final product overall. And I'll tell you what, this is phenomenal. Last year's was great. This one's really good, but there's probably only going to be about 130 bottles. So it should go fast, but I'm excited to see the difference. So that'll also be available this holiday season. And then something that is really cool, again, going back to kind of a winemaker's technique, we're releasing a winter gin, and that winter gin is stylistically night and day from our core 4 gin. Some people think winter gin and they think pine trees and real heavy juniper, which you would hate. That's not where we went with this. We decided to kind of make it feel like more of a warm, not warm as in alcohol burn, but warm as in comforting style. And we used cooking techniques to do that, meaning we researched botanicals that you would use in winter recipes, like rosemary, nutmeg, like bergamot, which is an Earl Grey tea. And the end result is like this really well-balanced, round kind of winter walk in the park. It's really cool. So for gin lovers, it'll be a deviation, but if they're open-minded, I think they're going to love it. It's going to be awesome. So those are the 3 we're doing.
So you guys are basically like, go ahead.
No, those are the 3 we're doing right now. Our plan long-term, to go back to your original question, is, what's one of the cool things about, the great microbreweries out there is they've got a seasonal release all year round. So, and in the spirits industry, the wine industry, you can't really do that. The beer industry, you absolutely can. The spirits industry, you absolutely can do that as well. And I think it's going to be something that you're going to see more of, and we're going to really embrace, where we can do some fun stuff year round. So this is just kind of the beginning of that.
So you guys are like mad scientists. You guys are just like,
Yeah.
like you're talking about all the stuff you're doing, and it's way over my head. I have no idea what the hell you're saying. But
am I getting too nerdy? Do you want me?
No, you're good. This is all fantastic. It's just it goes to show our listeners, it's more than just throwing some stuff together and here's a new spirit for you. It's a lot more to it. And you guys really, there's a lot of research and a lot of technique and whatever else that goes into this that sets you guys apart from a lot of other distilleries.
Well, I think that's
crafted small batch piece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see it on a lot of big brands out there, handcrafted small batch. Not to say they aren't, but I mean, this is really, each batch is we pay very close attention to everything, and we're right there smelling, tasting to make sure that the quality's there. And it's one of the cool things I think was going to come out of this kind of small craft distillery movement, that you're going to see more and more people like Towpath or more of our peers in Ohio making some really great stuff that's all unique and fun. And, you'll be able to tell when you taste it that, hey, this is thought out. This is incredible, and you're not going to get it anywhere else.
Nice.
I will say the red wine barrel was a favorite of mine last year. I bought that for my boss for Christmas, and that I'm still employed, so that's good. He seemed to like that. But with something like that, there's a limited release that came out so well. Like, how do you just keep from getting high on your own supply? You just like take 20 of those bottles in a limited release and smuggle them for yourselves.
Well, I told you there was 302 made and 282 released. So,
okay. The answer is he doesn't. Now, and so with that, with all these, the 3 releases that are coming up here soon, is there any sort of event or anything like that you guys are doing in order to promote that?
Funny you should ask. The second annual Sip the Season event is on November 5th. At the Merchant Tavern. Tickets are available on our website or through the Merchant Tavern's reservation site. But yeah, so the Sip the Season event is we first offer the tickets to people on our mailing list, which if you're not on our mailing list, I would suggest going to towpath-distillery.com and signing up. We will not harass you. We just want to give you information and, more importantly, first access to the cool stuff that we do. But we're going to offer tickets to those people first, which we did last week, and I believe now they're open to the public. It's $40. It's a great event. $40 gets you drink tickets, light hors d'oeuvres throughout the 3 or 4 hours of the event. There'll be some music, but it's just a fun time. I mean, it's a great way. Halloween's over at that point. It's like let's ease into the holiday season. We've got some signature cocktails that we gear around the stuff we're releasing. Then you'll have the first chance to grab it. And last year, I think we sold about half of the wine barrel bourbon that day. And since we're making half of what we made last year, there's a good chance it goes away that day. So whether you are a craft spirit aficionado or not, it's still a fun event. So I definitely would recommend checking it out. And it's that type of event is something we want to, as we build up our seasonal offerings, do at least 2 or 3 times a year, maybe even quarterly as time goes on, because they're fun. I mean, all that hard work and research and science that goes into it should result in a kick-ass party, right?
For sure. Yes. No, it sounds like, I mean, just with everything you guys are doing, everything is well thought out. Sounds like you're on the right track. I mean, I know every spirit of yours that I've tried so far has been pretty fantastic.
Thanks.
So, congratulations there as far as the first steps in your distillery. I know you said you're only a couple of years old, so continue growing, continue doing good things. And obviously, we love having you as an official sponsor of the Burning River Sportscast. So we really appreciate it. And I guess, being the Burning River Sportscast, we are a Browns podcast. So before we end this interview, I want to ask you, how do you feel about the Browns so far this season? It's been kind of up and down. You got any thoughts?
I'm a huge roller coaster fan, so it's been good so far. Cedar Point, I go to a lot. This is great. No, I'm still very optimistic. The defense, we had 3 outstanding games on defense. You're not going to do that every week in the NFL. It's early in the season. With the preseason the way it is now, it takes teams' offenses a few weeks to get going, and we're hitting that period right now. I think we got all the talent in the world on that side of the ball. I think the coaches, the change in defensive coordinator was absolutely the right move, and I think they got the right guy. Offensively, I mean, Nick Chubb, come on, man. Like, he just lost.
It's the most devastating thing that's ever happened to the Cleveland Browns, I think.
Yeah.
It's up there with maybe even them moving to Baltimore.
Yeah, maybe.
It was, dude, that was a bad day, man. It was funny. My son picked him up to go to flag football, and he's like, Dad, I scraped my knee on the playground. Then the kids are saying it's as bad as Nick Chubb's. And I'm like, no, bud, you're still walking. So, no, but that's a huge blow. I love that they brought Kareem back. I think that whether that translates into a talent replacement, I don't know. But I think it was a nice shot in the arm for the team at the time, because here's a guy that they know, that they, knows the system. He was right there. He's ready, So I think for a morale position, it was a great move. I hope he kicks ass this year, because he's a beast when he's on top of it. But yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is I don't know about that offense. I think we have, again, all the talent in the world, but not to get, I think they're going to have a great season. I think Stefanski might be in his own way sometimes.
Yes.
The fact that he did not
change. Huge proponents of that on the show. We think we actually call him Stefanic because we don't respect him.
Yeah, well, he didn't respect the Ravens enough to change the game plan, and look how that turned out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you got a 5th round kid who's very talented in DTR, but come on, man, it's his first start against the Ravens defense. So you couldn't change anything?
Just out there throwing bombs.
Yeah, just, forgot which color jersey he had. I don't know, man. I don't think he adjusts well. I really, going back to that Kansas City game years ago in the playoffs, he did not adjust well in the second half, and I don't think he ever has since then. It's always been my fear with him, and the fact that he's still calling plays just blows my mind. So,
yeah,
I think the Browns, talent-wise, they're good enough to finish 500, even with Stefanski getting in the way. If he can even just begin to get his head around how to coach this team, they should make the playoffs this year. But I don't know. I think he's their biggest problem.
Yeah, we're probably right there with you. Kevin Stefanik pisses us off week in and week out. And, it's like you're saying. He tries to be. He gets in his own way because he tries to be the smartest guy in the room, and the only person he outsmarts is himself. So
yeah, too often.
Pretty frustrating to watch.
Yeah. I don't know.
At least 2 or 3 times a game.
Yeah, I actually am rooting for him, though, because the last thing I want to see is a coaching change. I mean, then everything changes, right? You got a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new scheme, new this. I didn't draft that guy, so this guy's got to go. The whole thing. I'm really pulling for him, but we'll see. I don't know. I mean, we've been building for this team and for what, 5 years now? Well, it's here. Yeah. We got to make the playoffs, and we got to make a run.
Our window is small.
Yeah, so
for sure.
But I'm still optimistic. I mean, we lost last week, so that means the roller coaster should be going back up, right?
Right. Well, except it's a bye week this week, so does that mean that we skip our win and we lose again coming out of the bye?
This is where you do the scorched.
Yeah.
It is the 49ers, so you never know.
Yeah. No, but hey, Anthony, it's been really great talking with you. We really appreciate you coming on, giving our listeners an inside look at what Towpath Distillery is, what you guys are all about, and everything that you're doing over there. We'd love to have you again in the future. And yeah, we just really appreciate your time.
More than an inside look, that was a whole education on spirits. Now
I know how it's all made. I'm going to go make my own. I'm not.
You guys should do.
Having you.
You ever do appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's been great. If you guys ever do a show from the distillery, we'll give you the educational tour after, because you have to drink, all the sample.
Yeah.
All the
yeah.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, Anthony, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm Anthony Piscazzi with Towpath Distillery, and you're listening to Burning River Sportscast.
Wow, it was great speaking with Anthony, huh?
Anthony's my dude.
He is?
Yeah. We just get all hopped up on the red wine barrel together.
Hell yes. It is pretty crazy how complex spirit production is, though, huh?
When he was talking, it reminded me of like having the chemistry set like as a child, the one you could eat. Like, what was it, like Dr. Dread or something that you could like make brains and
and it was all like gummies and stuff that you made to eat.
He's just like in a kitchen with like some maestro of botanicals, and they're just like cooking like fruit and
maestro of botanicals. Get in the kitchen. We need to cook something up.
And they're like, what does this taste like? That's not good. This one's good. Let's write that down.
Write that down. No, and I can't wait to do a show from the distillery.
Yeah, that'll be very cool.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Especially because we can try all the spirits.
That's the best.